You're home early, sweetheart.
Sam, if you're looking for an argument, I'm too tired.
Pardon?
Though Elizabeth Montgomery's career success in Hollywood wasn't so widespread, she was very well known in the industry for the personal life that she led and the series of challenges that she had to face along the way. Despite making her mark in some really popular films, Elizabeth Montgomery's marriages were marked by a series of failures, which almost broke her spirit along the way. Even in her final days, she faced a very tragic fate that marked the end of her rather turbulent existence. Join us as we take you through this tragic tale of this star. Elizabeth Montgomery, the legendary actress of the TV series Bewitched, whose character Samantha Stevens has become the quintessential image that defines witchcraft in modern films, lived a life no less complicated and fascinating than her on-stage character. Despite being successful in her career with award after award, her personal life, especially her marital life, was marred by struggle and strife. Montgomery was a 4-time bride, and each marriage ended in divorce, turning into a string of woes that shadowed her life offstage. She first married socialite Frederick Gallatin Cammon in 1954. Cammon, who was of a prominent New York family, seemed to offer Montgomery stability and social status. However, the marriage lasted only a year. The reasons behind the divorce were never made public, but for the most part it was believed that the two were simply too different in what they did with their lives and what they held important. Montgomery, no matter how much she might have wanted to be a wife, would have struggled with combining her career goals with the responsibilities of a traditional marriage role. Aside from this, the stress of being a public figure, as a new star, must have added extra pressure, leading to the end of the marriage. The two parted on amicable terms, and Montgomery continued with her career. Next, Montgomery married actor Gig Young in 1956, and that marked the beginning of a tempestuous and seriously troubled marriage. Young, whose real name was Byron Ellsworth Barr, was a dashing, urbane actor but struggled with alcoholism and inner demons throughout his life. The marriage held together for 6 years, but wasn't without its problems. Young's addictions were a tremendous cause of stress, and Montgomery played the unifying role, attempting to hold him up through his lapses. Regardless of what she did, though, Young's behavior only became more unstable, and Montgomery was under increasing strain. She divorced Young in 1963, and Young persisted in the downward spiral towards his premature demise some years later. Montgomery very rarely discussed this marriage in public, but it was clear the experience had left her traumatized. Montgomery's third husband, director and producer William Asher, whom she married in 1963, was her longest and most famous union. Asher was a Hollywood leading man, best known for directing and co-creating Bewitched. The two were professionally highly successful and had 3 children together. Their marriage also appeared to be a happy and fulfilled one, both personally and professionally, at least for some time. But as the years passed, fault lines started to develop. The pressure of being high-profile professionals and that of running a family started to tell on them, and Montgomery and Asher grew apart. Their breakup in 1974 shocked many people because they seemed to be a solid and good couple. Their divorce was due to multifaceted and diverse reasons, ranging from differing career ambitions, the impossibility of balancing work and family, and the inevitable changes brought about by the passage of the years. Though their marriage did not work out, Montgomery and Asher were bound together by their children and by their shared professional legacy. Montgomery's fourth and final marriage was to actor Robert Foxworth in 1993. Foxworth, a stage and television veteran, seemed to introduce an air of stability and companionship into Montgomery's later years. However, it was not all easygoing in their marriage. Montgomery's health began to deteriorate during this period, as she quietly battled colon cancer. The stress of her illness, coupled with the challenge of attempting to have a relationship in that state, likely took a toll on their relationship. Montgomery passed away in 1995, only 2 years after Foxworth married her, so their marriage was tragically short. Even though their marriage had a tragic outcome, it was clear that Montgomery had sought out love and companionship until the day she passed away. Elizabeth Montgomery's life, in her 4 marriages, was a search for stability and fulfillment that she did not achieve. 3 of the 4 marriages were dissolved by divorce, which reflected the trend and problem of maintaining a viable marriage while under pressure from both the personal and professional spheres. Her first marriage to Frederick Cameron revealed the dilemma between realizing career ambitions and being a traditional wife. Her second marriage to Gig Young was marred by his addiction issues, which took a toll on Montgomery emotionally. Her third marriage to William Asher began successfully enough but eventually fell prey to the pressures of time and competing priorities. And of course, her fourth marriage to Robert Foxworth was ended tragically by her premature death, which left her life unfinished. Elizabeth Montgomery's stormy married life is the opposite of the delightful, serene universe that she conjured up on Bewitched, yet it also testifies to her humanity and strength. In spite of everything that she had gone through in her marriages, Montgomery remained a devoted mother, talented actress, and well-liked Hollywood personality. Her marriages, despite all their failures, were a testament to her ongoing faith in love and in sharing in spite of the difficulties that she faced. Outside her marriages, Elizabeth Montgomery was also known to have had some affairs in between the failed marriages that she had. Elizabeth Montgomery's personal life was as riveting and complex as her on-stage character. Where drama and the eventual collapse of her marriages were the signature, there was more at stake in her love affairs outside marriage, including rumored relationships which added to the dynamics of her life narrative. With her charm and beauty, Montgomery was never known to lack suitors, and her rumored high-profile affairs over the years have kept the imagination going for decades on end. One of the longest-standing rumors is one of a clandestine relationship with the legendary Elvis Presley. The two were said to have dated in the late 1950s when both were at the height of their careers. Montgomery, a Hollywood star in the making at the time, and Presley, the king of rock and roll and unmistakably so, are said to have met at a party. The chemistry between them was apparently electric, and soon rumors surfaced that they had had a torrid and brief affair. Montgomery and Presley never publicly confirmed the romance, but those close to them at the time signaled a brief romance. Most accounts suggest Presley was drawn to Montgomery's glamour and bad girl reputation, and Presley is described as having enjoyed her intelligence and sophistication. However, the need to preserve their careers and reputation from the prying eye of publicity must have kept it from becoming a full-blown affair. Whatever purported romance they shared, it was very well concealed, which added all the more to lend the touch of glamour surrounding the two stars. Another supposed romance that captivated critics and fans alike was a romance with Montgomery and actor James Dean. Dean, whose electrifying performances in the classic films Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden turned him into an icon, was a close friend of Montgomery's in the early 1950s. The two were extremely close, and their relationship had been characterized as seasoned with good humor and respect for each other. There have been speculations by some that their friendship could have developed into something more, particularly when both were struggling with the pressures of growing fame in Hollywood. Dean's untimely death in 1955 meant so much was left unanswered, but Montgomery seems to have spoken well of him in the years that followed, suggesting a complicated but passionate relationship. Whether their affair was platonic or not is conjecture, but at least Dean was someone special to Montgomery. Montgomery's rumored affairs were not only with actors, she was also rumored to have been involved with more than a few of the big players in the game, including producers and directors. One of her rumored affairs was with John L. Lewis, a well-known TV producer. Lewis, Montgomery's co-worker who had worked with her on many projects, was said to be in love with her talent and beauty. As discovered from reports, their professional relationship had also blossomed into a romantic one, but details of their love affair cannot be verified. Like most of Montgomery's alleged relationships, theirs was under wraps because she was never one to spill the beans when it came to her love life. Among the more notable, more traditional names associated with Elizabeth Montgomery is the writer and producer William Asher, whom she eventually married. Prior to their marriage, though, rumors swirled that their affair began while Asher was still wed to his first wife, Danny Sue Nolan. The fact that their affair overlapped the period Montgomery was allegedly being wooed by the same producer has led to speculation that Montgomery and Asher's affair was perhaps what ended Asher's first marriage. Because this is not recorded, Montgomery and Asher were actually both completely in love with one another, going on to marry and collaborate professionally on Bewitched. Their marriage, which ultimately resulted in divorce, was one of the most remarkable relationships in Montgomery's life, both publicly and privately. Montgomery's charm has also been reported to have caught the attention of political leaders. One of the more surprising of these rumors is an affair with President John F. Kennedy. The president, with a legendary charm and a legion of rumored romantic overtures outside marriage, was introduced to Montgomery by their mutual friends in Hollywood. There is no direct evidence to make the rumor stick, but the rumor acquires traction due to Kennedy's own reputation, as well as Montgomery's reputation as a sophisticated and glamorous woman. If at all, the affair would have been brief and secretive, considering that the two of them were highly aware of their star status. Montgomery was also rumored to have had affairs with some not-so-well-known figures in the industry, apart from these known ones in Hollywood. These affairs, though less scandalous, were very much a part of her life. Montgomery's ability to keep her private life, in terms of these relationships, away from the public, is a reflection of her tact and unwillingness to have her private life under the microscope of the media. Rumors still did not die down, further cementing her reputation as an enigmatic figure. Montgomery's alleged affairs did not go unnoticed. They tended to overlap with her marriages, causing a strain and ultimately the breakdown of these marriages. Her marriage to Gig Young, for instance, was strained not just by his alcoholism, but by both of them allegedly cheating on each other. Similarly, her marriage to William Asher, although strong in the initial stages, was marred by something that was perhaps exacerbated by external interference and past relationships. It is interesting that none of these alleged affairs were confirmed, and Montgomery herself never commented publicly on any of them. She was a professional to her marrow, devoted to her craft, and she liked the focus being on her work and not her personal life. Elizabeth Montgomery's on-screen personality and alleged love life, whether real or imagined, are testaments to what legends are made of in Hollywood. They show us a woman who wasn't simply beautiful and talented, but also complicated and human. Her love exploits, both within and outside marriage, instruct us about the difficulties of discovering love and commitment under the spotlight. While the details of these love affairs may forever remain private, they are part of what still makes Elizabeth Montgomery's enduring fame so compelling, marking her as an actress who lived provocatively, both on and off screen. In general, Elizabeth Montgomery's life, despite all the peak years of career achievement and ageless popularity, was marked by inner turmoil and loss. Behind the glamour of her Hollywood triumph, she had to face some very difficult times in her later years, and she passed untimely after she was diagnosed with cancer. Her on and off stage existence is that of a woman of colossal talent and strength, whose hold on the entertainment world continues to this very day. Montgomery started off at an early age as the daughter of Robert Montgomery. Despite being an established Hollywood leading lady, whose position and connection in the business were established out of her own hard work and sweat, she still had the burden of living up to the expectations that came with being Robert Montgomery's daughter. Against all odds, she was able to build her own image and reputation in the industry, which is remembered to this day. However, her life was always plagued by adversity, from the collapse of her marriage to the internal tension of managing a life in the spotlight. All these working tensions and personal strains were taking their toll on her. Montgomery's life became tragic in the early 1990s when she was afflicted by colon cancer. Her diagnosis came as a surprise because she had led a very dynamic and active life. Montgomery did not want the world to know about her illness, except her close friends and immediate relatives. The reason is that she would prefer to maintain her dignity, as well as save her family members from the media heat that would have followed if the illness had been made public. Montgomery was still working even when she was ill, trying to keep up appearances. She did her last work in the 1995 TV series Deadline for Murder, from the files of Edna Buchanan, and she worked even when ill. Montgomery's battle with cancer was short but fierce. She underwent treatment, but the cancer progressed rapidly. She was cared for by her husband, Robert Foxworth, and children during the last months of her life, and they stayed with her until she passed away peacefully. Elizabeth Montgomery passed away on May 18, 1995, at her Beverly Hills, California, home when she was 62. Her death came as a shock and was a huge tragedy to her colleagues and to the world in general. She was known not just for her skill as a good actress, but also for her goodness and dedication. Montgomery's death marked the end of an era, and the irreparable void it created in Hollywood was never to be filled. Despite the illness that beset her later life, Montgomery left an indelible mark on Hollywood and popular culture. Her iconic performance, Samantha Stevens on Bewitched, revolutionized television and left an indelible mark in the genre. As the endearing and clever witch who got through the mundane dilemmas of suburban life, Montgomery brought a new mix of humor, warmth, and sophistication to the role. Her performance enchanted viewers, and Bewitched was one of television's top sitcoms. Its popularity made Montgomery a TV legend and the benchmark for women's sitcoms in the next several decades. Montgomery's influence did not end there. She had unmatched versatility as an actress throughout her life, with dozens of on-screen, television screen, and stage appearances. She was capable of doing comedy and drama, and she received praise from critics for her performances in films like The Legend of Lizzie Borden and A Case of Rape. Both performances proved that she was able to accomplish challenging and complicated work, and it also cemented her as a capable and good actress. Montgomery's talent for evaluating and taking risks propelled her far beyond most of her peers and motivated a generation of artists who looked up to her. Aside from her own achievement as an actress, Montgomery broke down barriers for generations of women who came after her. Montgomery left a mark by choosing scripts that matched what she held dear or found interesting. Montgomery was an activist as well, and she made efforts to be heard regarding awareness of women's rights and domestic violence. Such dedication to the causes reflected profoundly on her humanity and depth, and friends and fans loved her and sang her praise. Montgomery's flame continues to burn wildly in Hollywood and every other place she has an interest in. Her role as Samantha Stevens remains iconic, and a lot of younger talents in the industry have followed in her footsteps. Her work on television and on film has influenced generations of actresses who mention her as someone they admire and have professional respect for. Apart from her career success, Montgomery's personal characteristics left the individuals around her with a lasting impression. She was a nice, friendly, and witty individual whose traits made everyone around her comfortable and loved. Despite the troubles and adversities she faced in her life, Montgomery was a wonderful friend and family, and cared for people's interests, even when she herself was experiencing her period of suffering. Her strength and resilience in the face of adversity still remind us of her legacy. Elizabeth Montgomery lived a life of triumph and tragedy. Her cancer and early death were a woeful addition to an already tormented life. Amongst all of these, however, Montgomery was the beacon of talent, beauty, and resilience. Her legacy in Hollywood and popular culture cannot be overstated, and she will be relished for centuries to come. Elizabeth Montgomery was a good actress, but a better woman whose life, as tragic as it was, is still inspirational and fascinating even today. What are your best memories of Elizabeth Montgomery? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.